Orange and black. This is Sports Phone KNBR. Sponsored by Industrial Metal Supply. On the sports leader. Check the live stream on YouTube at KNBR 1045. Here's your host, Kerry Crowley.
We are back. And so are the San Francisco Giants. Kerry Crowley hanging out with you this evening, 7 until 9. Sports Phone KNBR is the show. First hour, we're recapping the Giants' 10-4 win over the Philadelphia Phillies, kicking off another road series with another road victory. Second hour, 8 o'clock hour, we'll talk Golden State Warriors basketball. Danny Emmerman of the San Francisco Standard are going to stop by and preview Tuesday evening's play-in matchup with the Memphis Grizzlies. So the Giants go to New York. They take 2 of 3 from the Yankees at a stadium that's haunted them. Yankee Stadium has not been kind to the San Francisco Giants. Several trips back east since the year 2002. 3-4 road series, including the opening series back in the 2023 season. And the Giants had never won a series. But this weekend, they win on Friday night in blowout fashion. Terrible conditions, but they take it 9-1 in a final in 6 innings. Robbie Ray pitched well enough to get the win. The Giants' offense exploded early. Saturday, they go down, but Sunday, after falling behind against Carlos Rodon, Jung-Hoo Lee leads the way back. He hits 2 home runs, and the Giants take the series. You get the feeling that something special might be brewing. And then you figure reality would set in tonight. Landon Roop, the 5th starter on the hill, a decent first start against the Houston Astros, a very strong start against Cincinnati Reds his last time out, in which he took a loss and the Giants were shut out. But tonight he gets out on the mound, and the Phillies took it to him early. 3 runs in a long first inning that could have been worse for Landon Roop. And you're thinking, okay, Giants on the road against a team that you figure should be a National League powerhouse, 3-0. It's going to be a lot to overcome for this team. It wasn't. It wasn't at all. They win it going away 10-4 tonight. A 6-run second inning powered by Tyler Fitzgerald's 3-run go-ahead home run. And the Giants are now 12-4 on the young season through their first 16 games. Second best record in Major League Baseball. And I told you at any point during this season that they'd have the second best record in Major League Baseball, you'd probably figure that the best record will belong to the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's not the case. The unfortunate scenario for the San Francisco Giants is that it belongs to another team in the National League West. It's the San Diego Padres. Nevertheless, this team is on fire. It continues to stay hot. It's 1-4-5. And folks, I believe that this is sustainable. Are they going to win 3/4 of their games all season long? No, that's not sustainable. 12-4 over 16 games, unrealistic to expect that pace. But can the Giants get to 90 wins? Can this team be a playoff team? Here's why I believe. And I'd love to hear from you this evening. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Sports Zone KNBR is the show, so please do dial in. Give us your thoughts. But here is why I believe that the Giants can continue their winning ways. Look at this lineup right now. The 2 players the Giants are paying to produce, the $333 million left side of the infield, in Willy Adames and Matt Chapman, they haven't done much. Adames hit his first home run as a Giant tonight. That was important. Matt Chapman broke an 0-for-27 streak at the plate with an RBI single in the 9th inning. That was critical. But neither of these players have carried the offense. Neither of these players who the Giants have consistently had in the 2nd and 4th spots of their lineup have been the answer for San Francisco, have been the players willing them to victory. Instead, it's been every other player taking a turn for this Giants lineup. Take Wilmer Flores, for example. Leads the National League in runs batted in. Tied for the Major League lead in home runs with 6. Wilmer Flores. No one expected it. Take Mike Yastrzemski. I can't tell you how many calls I took last season on this very show with Giants fans who said, enough of Yastrzemski. It is time to bring in a new right fielder. I've seen enough. He's cooked. His days are over. Through 16 games this season, Mike Yastrzemski, a .311 average, a 1.036 OPS, second on the team behind Jung-Hoo Lee, 3 home runs. The guy is crushing the ball. He's been so good that Bob Melvin has been forced to move him into the leadoff spot. That's how good Yastrzemski's been. You go up and down this lineup, and there have been contributors. Guys who've had big games, guys who've taken a step back from the spotlight and let others do the work. The other reason the Giants can be really good this season is their starting pitching's been solid. Don't get me wrong. Like, Logan Webb's been good. Robbie Ray has been serviceable. Justin Verlander hasn't given the Giants what they've needed. But the issue is, and I can't say that this is an issue because this is a positive development for the Giants, this rotation is nowhere near its best. This rotation is getting Logan Webb starts and then 4 other pitchers who hope to get through 5 innings. And when that's the case, you figure, you're probably a 500 team. You're probably struggling against some of these juggernauts or perceived juggernauts like the Houston Astros, Seattle Mariners, New York Yankees, Philadelphia Phillies, all presumed playoff teams at the beginning of this season. Well, it's April 14th. We're halfway through the first month of the season, and it's been the Giants taking care of business. It's the Giants who are 12-4. It's the Giants who are winning series, and tonight it was the Giants with another resilient comeback win. On the other side, your phone calls. Do you believe that the Giants can keep this up? Are you finally convinced that this Giants ball club can be a playoff team this year? 415-808-KNBR. Your calls on the other side. The show is Sports Phone KNBR. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sports Phone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Now a swing. There's a shot. High and deep to left field. Way back there. Goodbye! A 3-run homer into the bleachers in straightaway left field. And that's the first home run of the year for Tyler Fitzgerald. And the Giants have scored 5 times in this inning. Now that is taking advantage of a break. Well, last year he hit a lot of home runs, Tyler Fitzgerald. He got a kind of a hanging slider up and in and out of here. Tyler Fitzgerald, go Tyler. I love you. You're my guy.
The post-game rap, John Miller absolutely killing me with the go Tyler. Great stuff. And what would it mean for the Giants if Tyler Fitzgerald produces this season at the clip that he's now at, after a game in which he recorded 3 extra base hits, including the gargantuan 3-run home run that put the Giants ahead for good in the second inning? He also tripled off the right field wall. He doubled. If Tyler Fitzgerald hits at a clip of 286 with an 809 OPS, which are the numbers after tonight's ball game, this Giants lineup is going to be pretty darn good. I had it pegged, and so far, I checked about a few days ago, it has been about a middle-of-the-road lineup in Major League Baseball. But you look at what they did at Yankee Stadium on Friday evening with the 9 spot. You look at what they did against the Reds last week with the 8 spot on Wednesday following 2 back-to-back shutouts. Of course, 10 tonight against the Phillies. There are some nights when this Giants lineup can explode in ways that it maybe hasn't had the potential to do so in recent years, because there aren't significant weak spots in this lineup. Like, you don't look at 7, 8, 9 in the Giants order and you say, oh, well, these guys, they can't hit. They're just out there for defense. The weakest spot right now, as of tonight's ball game, was the 6th spot in the order. Lamont Wade Jr., who's still just hitting 109 on the season. It's getting harder to run Lamont Wade Jr. out there, but he is drawing walks. He drew 2 more tonight. The OPS it's unbearable. It's 491, but he got the job done in terms of his walks and getting on base tonight. Wilmer Flores behind him in the 7th spot. I mean, if Wilmer Flores is your 7th hitter and he's tied for the National League lead in RBIs, which he actually has the National League lead in RBIs, he's tied for the MLB lead in RBIs at 20. You're in a pretty good situation. Patrick Bailey hasn't gotten hot, but 1 hit tonight, and of course helped force the issue against Taijuan Walker in the second inning when he hit that high chopper over the left side of the mound. Walker, of course, helping the Giants by firing that ball into center field. John Miller had said on the postgame wrap that he anticipated that Walker would just get the sure out over at first base, but instead he fires it into center field, and then Fitzgerald makes him pay as the next batter by launching that 3-run home run, putting the Giants ahead for good, and they did not look back. I will say, the one moment of tonight's game where I really felt like the Giants were fortunate and things could have swung back toward the Phillies. They weren't going to completely swing back toward the Phillies, but the one moment where I thought, Giants caught a break here was JT Realmuto's at bat against Eric Miller in the 7th inning. At that point, the Giants held an 8-4 lead, but the Phillies had 2 on, 2 out, and were threatening, and Realmuto hit a ball towering shot down the left field line that easily could have been a 3-run home run if it just straightened out a little bit more. That would have got the Phillies right back into that ball game. Instead, it's just a loud strike, and later on in the at-bat, Eric Miller throws a 3-2 curveball that was nowhere close to the strike zone. I mean, this was left-handed batter's box, and Patrick Bailey somehow framed it up. Tony Randazzo, the home plate umpire, rang JT Realmuto up on what has got to be one of the worst called strikes that I've ever seen. And look, Giants fans will take it. Giants will take it. I get it. It's part of baseball. Giants will get hosed on several calls this season. It's happened several times this season. That was just a situation where it was a really, really bad call that benefited Eric Miller, who was not throwing a ton of strikes tonight, and that was a key component of tonight's win, is the Phillies didn't cut their way into the Giants' lead at that point, and then you had Tyler Rogers on for the 8th. He sat down the Phillies in order. Rogers right now, after giving up the home run to Jazz Chisholm in Sunday's ball game, his ERA sitting at a cool 1.00, and then Camilo Doval came on for the 9th inning. I thought threw the ball very well. A low-pressure, low-stakes spot, and again, I want to see Camilo in about 5 or 6 more of these low-pressure, low-stake spots before he gets back into the 7th, 8th, and potentially 9th inning high-leverage situations the Giants will encounter over the next few weeks. But if he throws the ball like tonight, if he trusts the slider like he did tonight, the cutter becomes that much more lethal. He threw it 100 miles an hour against Bryce Harper and these Phillies hitters, and the Giants walked through the 9th inning very easily. It was a 10-4 win. They won it going away. A very important victory for this Giants ball club. So if you have any thoughts, 415-808-KNBR is the number. Do you believe the Giants can sustain their success? Do you believe the Giants will be a playoff team this season? Or is what you're seeing during the first few weeks of the season just a mirage right now? I would love to hear from you. Also, some thoughts on different Giants players. Willie Adames gets it going tonight with his big home run, first of the season. Tyler Fitzgerald helping the middle infield out by his 3 hits, including 3 extra base hits for the Giants, including that 3-run home run. But a ton of different contributors tonight for the Giants. That was the theme. And Bob Melvin, Giants manager, spoke about this postgame. We're going to play some audio for you here, as the Giants manager was fired up after the 10-4 win. Giants fall behind 3-0. They score 6 runs in that second inning, and it was contributions from up and down the lineup and guys who haven't necessarily been that pivotal to the Giants' success early this season. So tonight could be a marker of more good things to come on this 10-game road trip. The Giants have started out with 3 wins in 4 games. So here's Bob Melvin discussing the contributions that he received from these Giants players on Monday evening.
We were talking about earlier today that we're just spreading it around to where, it's a couple guys a day. The one day that Jung Hoo has a tough day, Willie does his thing, and Tyler, obviously the 3-run homer was huge in the course of that game, down 3-0 right away to a team that plays really well at home, swings the bat, and come back with a 6 spot. So, Wade's walk in that inning too, kind of to set it up. A lot of the guys have been struggling a little bit, ended up contributing.
And I thought that he mentioned there Jung Hoo Lee having a rare off night, 0 for 5, 3 strikeouts tonight. The fact that the Giants can score 10 runs when Jung Hoo Lee is not in the mix whatsoever, in fact, when Jung Hoo Lee is a detriment to the team's offensive output, that speaks to some of the depth that the Giants have. And so it doesn't always need to be the same player every day. And like I said at the top of this show, it doesn't always need to be Willie Adames and Matt Chapman. It hasn't been Willie Adames and Matt Chapman leading the way. The $333 million left side of the infield for the San Francisco Giants. The Giants have won in large part in spite of their offensive performances. Coming into today, Willie Adames was a bottom 10 qualified hitter in Major League Baseball, and Matt Chapman was bottom 25 qualified hitter in Major League Baseball. So you're looking at 30 teams. You're probably looking at about 6 to 7 qualified players on each of those teams. They're in the bottom 10% of hitters right now. And for Adames, bottom 5%. And he gets out of that tonight with the home run, with the single. Of course, he was picked off in the first inning. Didn't love that. But Matt Chapman also breaking that stretch. So if the Giants are able to get their hottest hitters, their most important hitters, hot at the same time, it's going to be great. I think that you think about this lineup's potential, you think about where this team can go this season, you don't have to rely on the pitching staff to carry the entire season like you might have anticipated back in spring training. You can have some days where it's Adames and Chapman, some days where it's Lee and Yastrzemski, some days where Wilmer Flores is going to carry you because apparently Wilmer Flores has turned back the clock. There will be some days where the Giants just don't have it. We saw that last week against the Cincinnati Reds at home, back-to-back shutouts. But at the same time, this lineup has proven that you can't make mistakes against it, and when you do, there are guys who can make you pay. Tyler Fitzgerald, one of those guys tonight. And Bob Melvin spoke about the importance and the significance of Fitzgerald having the breakthrough this evening. 3 extra base hits. You talk about 9 total bases for Fitzgerald. A huge performance. He was the offensive leader. Here's Melvin on Fitzgerald's night.
Yeah, I think just sometimes success breeds confidence, and when you're struggling some, you need a few games to get yourself back in the right, place. And today was by far his best game of the year. I think certainly the 3-run homer takes a lot of pressure off, and because we know he's got the ability to hit the ball at the ballpark, and then just ends up having a really nice day.
Yeah, by far his best game of the year, and over the course of 162, Tyler Fitzgerald probably not going to have a better day than one where he finishes with 9 total bases, the go-ahead home run, the clear offensive catalyst out of the 9 spot in the order for your San Francisco Giants in a 10-4 win. We're headed out to the phone lines. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Let's go to Michael in Mountain View. Michael in Mountain View, you're on Sports Phone. Michael, how's it going this evening?
Good. How are you doing, Phil?
Oh, doing well on my end. What's on your mind tonight?
my concern is that we always talk about the Giants doing well, but my biggest worry is they can get the clutch hit at the key time to keep the game going. That's my major concern. Not just because they're doing well now. If they can do well like in August and September, then we're talking the same thing. If we're talking they're doing well now, that to me seems to be irrelevant because there's a whole lot of games to go. A lot of times when we get into August and September, we can't get the clutch hits. Then we take a way step backwards.
Okay, well, let me spell it out to you like this, Michael. 2022, 2023, 2024, the Giants didn't get clutch hits in the month of April. They didn't get clutch hits in the month of May. They didn't get clutch hits in the month of June. So by the time August and September rolled around, the Giants weren't really in the mix. Right now, they're putting themselves in a position to be in the mix. So I understand the concern, but I think you have to trust what they've shown. Wilmer Flores on opening day setting the tone for the season with a 3-run home run off of Ian Jabot. Yesterday, Jung-Hoo Lee, 3-run home run off of Carlos Rodon. Tonight, Tyler Fitzgerald, 3-run home run off of Taijuan Walker. When you hit 3-run home runs, you set yourself up for success, you know?
Yes, but that's true. But I like to see them like if they have a runner at second, they can get a double instead of relying just on the home run. And I'll take it off the air for that comment.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Absolutely. Totally understand where the comment's coming from. Appreciate the phone call from Michael in Mountain View. Doubles are great. In fact, Mike Yastrzemski had one in the top of the ninth inning tonight after Tyler Fitzgerald doubled. And the Giants doubled home a run. You see it time and again. Guys who are hitting home runs are also factors in terms of extra base hits in producing doubles. So there could be some late season concern for the San Francisco Giants. I can't forecast what July, August, and September will look like. All we can go off of is the 16 games the Giants have played. And I will tell you that for as impressive as these 16 games have been, it's not as if the Giants have maxed out this roster. It's not as if they're getting 7 shutout innings from Robbie Ray and Justin Verlander and Landon Roop every single night. In fact, more often than not, the starting pitcher is going 5 innings or struggling to get there. And you're having 2 or 3 different offensive players pick up the slack and are having a bullpen that shuts the door. And let me tell you something. Quality starting pitching, which I think the Giants can have but haven't quite had yet. Timely hitting, which the Giants certainly have had this season. And a lights-out bullpen, yeah, that's a recipe for success, and we've seen it work before for the San Francisco Giants. I'm Kerry Crowley, show Sports Phone KNBR. Please do dial us in this evening. 415-808-KNBR is the number. The show is sponsored by Industrial Metal Supply, online at industrialmetalsupply.com. When we come back, Safe at Third will lead us off. You're listening to KNBR, the sports leader.
The nighttime is the right time for Sports Phone KNBR. Let's go on the sports leader. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Adames out to right center field. This one headed to the wall and gone! Willie Adames. He's been waiting for that one. His first Giants home run out to right center field. And a big smile for the new Giants shortstop. His first home run in the orange and black, 6-3.
We are back here on Sports Phone KNBR. Giants win at 10-4 over the Philadelphia Phillies. You just heard Dave Fleming on the call. Willie Adames' first home run of the season. Tyler Fitzgerald hits his first home run of the season, both coming in a 6-run second inning, an offensive explosion for the Giants against Philadelphia starter Taijuan Walker. I'm Kerry Crowd. The show is Sports Phone KNBR. 415-808-KNBR is the number. We're headed out to the phone lines. Safe at third in San Francisco. You're on Sports Phone. What's going on this evening?
Man, everything is good in Giant Land. Everything is good in Giant Land, and everybody should celebrate. Let me tell you why. We have a lineup that should be the lineup for the year. I've been preaching this for the last 2 or 3 years, that a consistent lineup wins games because people are familiar with one another like brothers and sisters when growing up in one household. This lineup is the lineup should carry us all the way the rest of the year, providing help, because you saw what can be done when you have a consistent variety of players that are supposed to be everything that they're supposed to be, like Willie Adames. Mm-hmm. And they're doing it. They're starting to do it now, but you've got to stay with this lineup. Everybody's saying, "Oh, Willie Adames, I don't know if he's going to look." He's a Booker over in the A's. He's batting 191, and he was 300 last year.
Yeah.
Everybody is down right now. Everybody that is supposed to be somebody is down right now, and they're coming. But we're coming with them, people out there in baseball land, Major League land. We're coming because the Giants got a consistent lineup. Long as we keep that going, I don't worry about the pitching. Pitching is fine. Pitching will catch up. I don't care about that right now. That'll be taken care of. But we got a lineup that can compete. And we have to compete against, we got to compete against the Dodgers. Yeah, okay. The Padres. That's the Black Mamba of the league right now. The Padres are something else.
The Padres are legit.
Oh, they're legit. And we got to go down there and show them who's boss. But we can't show them who's boss if we're all over the place. Let me say this before I go. Duvall, I'm sorry. Get rid of him. I'm hardcore old-fashioned baseball from 1953 to this day. Get rid of him because the guy is emotionless. He shows no emotion. Even when he wins, he looks like Mark Bavaro of baseball. The guy has no. The guys are jumping all over the place, having fun, laughing, talking. Man, we just came back from a 3-0 depth, and the guy goes out there, tosses a few pitches, and he comes back and he stands up there like he's, in Strawberry, Wisconsin, or someplace. The guy has to go.
I get it. There we go. Safe at third. I always appreciate your commentary. Thank you so much. The consistent lineup, a call. I understand it, but I do think that there's some room for change. Look, Lamont Wade Jr. started the season as the opening day leadoff man. They had to change that. Mike Yastrzemski up there now. You don't know how long that's going to stay the case. I do think it's important that you stay with your guys who you consider your everyday players. Matt Chapman, Willie Adames, Tyler Fitzgerald. Let them figure it out wherever it may be in the order. I don't get the criticism of Camilo after tonight's game, a 1-2-3 ninth inning. Looks great throwing the slider, looks great throwing the cutter, but I understand where you're coming from because there have been performances where Camilo Doval left Giants fans frustrated. So some pent-up emotion, some pent-up aggression there from Safe at Third, but we always love his phone calls. Let's go out to Chris in Concord. Chris in Concord, you're on Sports Phone. Chris, what's going on this evening?
Hey, how's it going? I kind of agree with him there. I mean, I'm a fan of Mariah Carey Emotions, that whole album, and Duvall did show none of that. You know what I mean?
I can't let a 10-4 victory game where the Giants come back and Fitzgerald hits a home run and Adames comes on and hits a home run for the first time this season. I can't let this turn into the decision on Camilo Doval's show. We did a few of those last week.
Sure.
I don't think tonight can be that night, you know?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too much like the pressure of that whole show, like where he comes in with the lights and all that crazy stuff. I think we need to like dial that back. It's just like we need to just let the Giants be the Giants.
It's
right
been
now.
dialed back. It's been dialed back.
It's a team, and and the greatest thing about this team is that I watched so many games this season, and I've just discounted them. 6th inning, 7th inning, they're not coming back.
Yeah.
This year, you are staying tuned. You know what I mean? Like they can and they do come back. So that's my favorite part of this team so far.
Absolutely. I mean, Chris, think about the 3-run home runs. Wilmer Flores on opening day against the Cincinnati Reds. Ian Jabot, Jung-Hoo Lee yesterday, Tyler Fitzgerald today. Like, this is a team that's hitting the 3-run home run, and good teams hit those home runs in big spots.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And Wilmer Flores, I feel like I wrote him off like 5 years ago. This guy is like been reborn. He's like an X-Men. It's like a whole alternate universe. I don't know what's going on with Wilmer Flores right now. But
the crazy part about Wilmer Flores is this is Wilmer's 13th Major League season. He's been with the San Francisco Giants for 6 years now, and Wilmer Flores is only 33 years old. It feels like this guy's been a big leaguer for like 2 decades, and he's only 33 years old. It wouldn't shock me if he has a year where he has like an 850 OPS, because that's not that out of the ordinary for 33-year-olds who are professional hitters.
Yeah, it's totally true. But why does he feel so old to me, right? What is that?
Because he's been around forever.
Just like frustration, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and because he doesn't move that well. That's the reality of it. I mean, I love Wilmer in the batter's box, but Wilmer on the base paths, that's a different story. So
hey, he tied up RBIs with Aaron Judge today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Tied with Aaron Judge, tied with Judge and Trout in terms of home runs. Wilmer Flores, your National League MVP frontrunner right now.
Love it.
There you go.
Thanks,
Chris,
buddy.
thank you for the call. Appreciate your thoughts this evening. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Let's go out to Alex in East Palo Alto. Alex in East Palo Alto, you're on Sports Phone. Alex, what's going on this evening?
I mean, Kerry, David Ortiz made one long career out of not being a very good runner on the base paths. I will
that is well said.
He has got plenty of years. If the bat's going to produce like that, someone will find a home. I think, Kerry, the big thing that I keep coming back to, and again, it is early. We're, 10% of the way into the season as of tonight, basically, at 16 games out of 162. But it doesn't even feel like this team is playing their best yet. I mean, this lineup tonight, Jung-Hoo's been their best hitter, goes 0 for 5. They put up a 10 spot anyway. You know, they do this without him. Right now they have more hitters batting in the 100s or on the interstate under the Mendoza line than they do guys batting above 300 out of their everyday starters in that way, because I think you've got Wade, Chapman, and Bailey all under 200, and I think it's just Jung-Hoo and Yaz above 300. And like tonight, Kerry, I look at the start that Landon Roop gave. That might be his most impressive start as a big leaguer, because he was able to get through 5 innings and keep him in a game when it was very obvious it was nowhere close to his best stuff today.
Yeah. I mean, how about Landon Roop throwing 55% curveballs tonight? So he goes 56 curveballs and 101 pitches, and just using that most dominant offering pretty much every situation he could. It is lethal, and the Phillies sat on it. I mean, there's a number of times where they're looking for it, but Landon Roop going to the curveball in a way that no Giants pitcher historically ever has until tonight.
It really was impressive that he didn't really have it to start. And he just kind of said, screw it, I'm going to keep throwing it until I find it. And that's kind of, part of it is that it is his truly one elite pitch, and everything else kind of has to build off of it. But credit to both him and Bailey to say, you know what, we think you can find it. We're just going to keep throwing it until you do. And, yeah, that might, have a little bit of trouble in the first inning, which he clearly did. But to still get through 5 with all the damage he was working himself into and out of was a mighty impressive start. And it kind of just goes to show to me, Kerry, that, this team's not going to play 750 ball for the rest of the season. But they're a team that's very obviously built a different attitude and built a different structure to their roster. I mean, we're now going on, 2.5 weeks without a single roster move. I think at some point Farhan Zaidi's going to get to make a ghost move from the Dodgers organization just for the sake of it.
That's well said. You're right. Hey, 2.5 weeks, no roster move. You know what you also need for no roster moves is there can't be a day where you have starting pitchers go back-to-back short outings. Like, you can't have 2 days where, Justin Verlander goes 2 1/3, Robbie Ray goes 3 1/3, because then Spencer Bivens is eating it both days, and he's getting optioned. The Giants haven't had that yet. They've had clean injury health so far, and I think that is a huge key to this early success.
Well, and I almost wondered if in the first inning there, when Bivens was warming up, because Roop was in the 30s in his pitch count, if Bob Melvin was almost regretting using Birdsong yesterday for the couple innings because of the fact that, well, shoot, if I got to pull Roop here after one, I've got to, lengthen Bivens out and pick apart the rest of the bullpen to get there. And obviously that only adds more to the point. If Roop got through it, kept being a bulldog out there to get through 5, even through 101 pitches, obviously this is a 17-game in 17-day stretch, as long as there's no weather, that will definitely test how much of the roster moves you can and can't make. But it's kind of hard to want to look at this roster, even with the guys who are struggling, and you tweak what you're doing inside the roster. You've obviously dropped Wade in the lineup. You've tried to lift Flores a couple of times higher in the lineup, and you can make those tweaks there. But it certainly doesn't feel like you want to touch anything about this makeup and the team writ large if you don't have to, because why would you ruin a good thing?
Yeah, that's very well said. Very well said. Thank you so much for the call, Alex. I appreciate that. No need. You can experiment with the lineup. Different lineup against righties than you have against lefties. Move Mike Yastrzemski up while he's hot. Move Lamont Wade Jr. down while he's not. But for the most part, you want to keep the same 26 guys consistent. The Giants have done that, and it's still April 14th. Carlos in Berkeley. You're on Sports Phone. Carlos, what's going on this evening?
Oh, my gosh, man. Listen, and this caller's points were excellent in terms of what this team looks like. And you remember in the offseason we were kind of freaking out a little bit that even though we had Buster and it was all looking great, but there wasn't a lot of trading, and we basically have the same people as last year, the same players as last year. But, Wilmer, come on, that's just amazing stuff. But is it attitude? Tell me, what is going on? What do they put in the water? Because I want some of that stuff, because this team is clicking on all cylinders. I mean, is it really Buster Ball? Because if it is, we need to start calling it that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm all on board with calling it Buster Ball. I think so much of this, Carlos, to be quite honest with you, is a different sense of confidence that's flowing through these players, because they know that they were picked for specific roles that they are going to have for a long time. Like, Mike Yastrzemski doesn't have to look over his shoulder and wonder if he's starting on a given day in right field, or he's going to be asked to play center field because the Giants have instability at that position. Like, Jung-Hoo Lee knows every single day he shows up at the park, he's the 3-hitter. Matt Chapman knows that even if he goes 1 for 27, which he's done over the past few weeks, Matt Chapman's still going to be the cleanup man. He's still going to be the third baseman. Like, he doesn't have to worry about losing his job. I think for so long, last 3-4 years, Giants players have been thinking, hey, if I go to the ballpark today and I don't perform, it's AAA for me. Or in some cases, if I go to the ballpark and I don't perform, I'm getting DFA'd, and I don't know where my next paycheck's coming from in the game of Major League Baseball. This Giants team came into spring training with some real certainty that Buster Posey and Bob Melvin established for it, and I think that they are feeding off of that certainty and playing to their roles particularly well.
Yeah, and you know what? And thank you from the fans, right? I mean, this is the kind of baseball we like. I mean, knowing, you know what? We might be able to go back and take their names off the back of their jerseys and just use the numbers again, because I mean, it's great ball. It is great ball.
That's a good point, and it's well taken. I appreciate that phone call, Carlos. Thank you so much. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Let's go down to Bob in Saratoga. Bob in Saratoga, you're on Sports Phone. Bob, what's going on this evening?
Yes, Kerry. I just think Buster Posey deserves a lot of credit for a couple things many things that he's done. One of the most important things is I remember calling in a lot last year when almost all the fans were saying, we've got to get rid of Yastrzemski. He's too old. He's this, he's that. We got to get rid of Wilmer. We got to get rid of Wade. And he saw the value in these players, and they were lower salaries than it was going to cost him to go out and get 3 other hitters. Mm-hmm. And the only thing is that they were hitting really well 2 or 3 years ago, but they were injured, both of them last year. And he invited them to camp, and if they were healthy and they had a good camp, they're on the team because I think he was even a teammate of Yastrzemski's way back.
He was a teammate of both of theirs, both
Was
Yastrzemski
he?
and Wilmer Flores, Lamont Wade Jr., Tyler
Terrific.
Rogers, and Logan Webb.
See, that explains it. I mean, he really knows what he's doing. We got to have full faith and credit in him because he's turning this whole team around. And I got to give him most of the credit because he's upgraded the coaching. He's promoted from within, which is always the best way to go to bring in newcomers who don't really know what you have. So I spent 60 years in the corporate world in talent management, and this guy is the right man at the right job at the right time.
Yeah.
So
thank you for the call, Bob. I always appreciate your thoughts. We got to head to a quick commercial break here. Kerry Crowley hanging out with you here on Sports Phone KNBR. We were rolling with you until 9 o'clock. Got a lot of Golden State Warriors talk coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. You're listening to KNBR 104.5 680, the sports leader.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sports Phone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Here's the pitch now. Swing and a miss. He struck him out with a slider. Nice inning for Camilo Doval, and he kind of needed one. And the Giants with another come-from-behind win, and they've won 3 of their first 4 on this road trip that looked very treacherous going in. Yankee Stadium, then Philadelphia, 2 of the best teams in all of Major League Baseball. The Giants take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees, and now it's game 1 from the Phillies.
A very impressive start to the road trip for your San Francisco Giants. They've won 3 of their first 4, as John Miller just said. We've got time for a few more phone calls here on KNBR, talking a little bit more Giants baseball before we go full-on Golden State Warriors conversation in the 8 o'clock hour. We're going to welcome on our friend Danny Emmerman from the San Francisco Standard to break down the 7-8 matchup tomorrow night at Chase Center. 415-808-KNBR is the number. Let's go out to Dan in Danville. Dan in Danville, you're on Sports Phone. Dan, what's going on this evening?
Oh, thanks for taking my call. I was calling up to talk about the Giants offense, and, I'm really surprised how well they're doing this year because, based off the stats and everything, I remember listening to Marty's show all the time, Marty Lurie, and he would always talk about the mosaic, and you're just as you are right there with Marty. You're doing a great job. You keep the energy go. Marty and you keep the energy going for these callers, I'm telling you.
Well, I appreciate that. It's always fun. It's always fun talking ball on KNBR, I'll tell you that much.
Well, your energy keeps it fun because trust me, 'cause sometimes it can get low. But to keep it going up, Marty would always tell us about the mosaic, and this is absolutely the mosaic. So we have the team doing really, really well, but in our stomachs we know that they haven't hit really this well to deserve the record. But we have to take the success with what we got. But deep down we know that this offense is not going to produce like this. I don't think this offense is going to produce till the first half of the season. So they're going to have to make some changes eventually because had the record reflected the statistics, they would be making some changes. But since it's not, they're going to keep it status quo. It's a good thing we faced the Reds early on and they didn't capitalize on the chances they had because it could be totally different. That being said, what really options do you have? I think the Giants should have signed. That guy from Arizona, that pitcher, he would be in a lot better position to do a good job for us than Justin Verlander is right now because of his youth.
Look, I get that too, but the byproduct of that is the Giants wanted to create spots in their rotation for years to come, and Justin Verlander was going to hold down one spot for 1 year. Corbin Burns was looking for a long-term deal, 6 years, and so they decided to prioritize the long-term position of Landon Roop and Hayden Birdsong and Kyle Harrison in this rotation, and they haven't realized that yet. You're not going to see the fruits of that until maybe late 2025, early 2026. But I get it. I agree with you. They should have spent more money this offseason. But I also think, like right now, Giants fans have to be happy with the results of what they've seen so far, because Landon Roop battled his way through tonight, and Justin Verlander, while not the Justin Verlander of old, I think that he will be better, and I have reason to believe that his start against Cincinnati actually last week was a step forward. He got some unfortunate defense behind him, and I think that he's going to show that tomorrow against Philadelphia.
I hope you're right. I do, because when I look at the money that we paid Verlander versus Corbin Burns, I don't know. I mean, to save up money or to give other relievers a different chance to pitch, I hope that was a good enough reason, because it seems like for $14 million a year for Verlander, it's not exactly But you're right to hold it there for that 1 year. But other than that, man, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Dan.
Does well. No problem. I don't think
appreciate
you will,
your thoughts. Bye. Yeah, thank you so much. Let's go out to Mary in Oakland. Mary in Oakland, you're going to be our last caller this evening. Mary, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited about the Giants this year. I'm an old person. I've been a fan since I was 13 when they came to San Francisco in 1958. Anyway, I wanted to back you up on some of the comments you made about the callers saying, I really don't think this is going to last. These are the same players we had last year. I don't really believe they can play good. Well, two major things happened. They got Buster Posey involved, and they basically got rid of Farhan, and they came up with a different philosophy, and it's the Buster Posey winning 3 World Series philosophy, where you don't hit home runs in the ballpark. It's very hard to do, so you play defense, you get pitching, and do fundamental hitting with getting runs and hitting in fly balls in timely manner. And I'm kind of wired here. I'm sorry. I'm not used to being on the radio.
No, we love the phone call, Mary. We love it. We love your energy. We love your passion. Thank you so much. And look, I do think that Buster Posey has given this organization a sense of confidence. I think that people really feel solidified in the roles that they have right now with the San Francisco Giants. I think that players aren't looking over their shoulder wondering if they're going to be replaced. I think that you can have a bad 1-2 week stretch and understand that it's not going to define you and it's not going to change your role on this team. But one thing that I will also say, this Giants team's hitting home runs. Like, I know a lot of people don't think that this Giants team can be a franchise that's reliant on home runs. I think that that would be an idea that would be mistaken. The Giants started on opening day with Wilmer Flores hitting a 3-run bomb off Ian Jabot. That was the difference in that ball game. Yesterday, Jung-Hoo Lee hitting 2 was the difference against Carlos Rodon and the Yankees. Tonight, Giants get 3 home runs. The go-ahead shot from Tyler Fitzgerald. Willie Adames adds on.
I love you.
I love that. Oh, John Miller. Willie Adames adds on in the second inning, and Mike Yastrzemski with a big home run late as well. So this is a Giants team that's hitting home runs. It's doing damage. And right now, 12-4, you take what you can get. It was a tough schedule out of the gates. Giants have navigated it so far. I think that they're 2 wins away from guaranteeing 500 on this road trip, and they've still got 6 games to go. That's a good position to be in when you're on the road for a 10-game stretch. I'm Kerry Crowley, show Sports Phone KNBR. When we come back, some Warriors basketball talk here on the Sports Leader. We are back here on Sports Phone KNBR. Kerry Crowley rolling with you until 9 o'clock this evening. Appreciate everyone who's tuned in so far. The Giants, our big storyline tonight, they're wrapped up in Philadelphia, and it's time now to focus our attention on the biggest story in the Bay Area sports world this week. We're still 10 days out from the NFL draft before the 49ers steal the spotlight, so right now it is all about the Golden State Warriors and the play-in game that they will host on Tuesday evening at Chase Center, hosting the Memphis Grizzlies, of course, after concluding the season, losing 3 of their last 5, including Sunday's 124-119 overtime defeat at the hands of the Los Angeles Clippers. Warriors finished the season 48-34, 24-17 at Chase Center, and now they have a monumental clash on Tuesday evening in an attempt to secure a matchup with the second-seeded Houston Rockets, a team that the Warriors handled for a lot of this season. They lost their last matchup with the Rockets, but a lot more to get to in terms of how Golden State played on Sunday, some coaching decisions from Steve Kerr that impacted the outcome, and really some big picture takeaways on what this means for the Golden State Warriors moving forward, because Tuesday's game has turned into kind of a season-defining matchup with the Memphis Grizzlies for a lot of reasons. When you think about it, if the Warriors end up losing on Tuesday, they will then host the winner of Sacramento and Dallas on Friday, and of course, they'll have the advantage in that ball game, but they would then go to play on Sunday in Oklahoma City on the road against a team that just won well over 60 games this season, that just won 54 games by double digits, an NBA record this season. It just sets up to be a terrible matchup, even though that I think Golden State could give OKC a run for its money. The Warriors' ticket to doing postseason damage is really punched tomorrow night against the Memphis Grizzlies. But before we talk more about that game, look back at what transpired on Sunday against the Los Angeles Clippers, who, by the way, finished the season at 50-32. They're the 5 seed in the Western Conference, and I think they're going to handle the Denver Nuggets in their 4-5 matchup. I think that the Clippers might be, at this point in time, playing the best basketball of any team in the Western Conference. With the way that Kawhi Leonard played, by the way, 47 minutes for Kawhi Leonard. Who could have seen that coming on Sunday afternoon? 48 minutes for James Harden. The Clippers treated this as a must-win game. They were rewarded as such. Leonard goes for 33. Harden goes for 39. The Warriors had no answer in the post for Zubac, who played 42 minutes, 22 points, and of course 17 rebounds. Just a huge threat on the offensive glass. 4 offensive rebounds. The Warriors could not close out. It impacted the way that they played defense, and it was amazing to see the Clippers playing at this high of a level when I personally have had so many questions about how Leonard could hold up physically over the course of this season, and really how James Harden could play in a game like this against Golden State. Look, this is someone who's had success at an all-NBA level for years now, but then again, he hasn't always taken care of business against the Golden State Warriors, particularly when he was wearing a Houston Rockets jersey. I was just really, really impressed with the way that Harden and Leonard played down the stretch, including in overtime of that ball game. Steph Curry came with a blitz in the fourth quarter. He was outstanding. After a sluggish start to the game, Curry couldn't miss down the stretch, and then the Clippers couldn't miss. The Warriors couldn't get a stop. It was back and forth. It was a playoff atmosphere at Chase Center, and really for one of the few times this season, I felt like I was watching 2 Western Conference heavyweights go at it. And what I think is probably the most disappointing part of Sunday's loss for the Golden State Warriors is it felt like one of those games where you hang around, you stay close, and then you let Steph take over in the fourth quarter. And Steph Curry did take over in the fourth quarter. He finished with 36 points in 38 minutes. I think he hit 4 of his 7 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. He was sensational, and yet the Clippers held on. They didn't give in. That is, time and time again, throughout the last 13, 14 years, we've seen this where it's a tie game or the Warriors are trailing by a little bit. Steph goes on his flurry and there's no looking back. I was waiting for the moment that he'd be able to give the night-night signal to the Golden State crowd, and it never happened because the Clippers were not denied when they were on offense. It was a poor defensive performance from the Golden State Warriors. Of course, down the stretch in the fourth quarter, Draymond Green missing that key layup allows the Clippers to take advantage of that opportunity. Gary Payton II fouling James Harden while shooting a 3, just a miserable foul. And I think you look back at so many different elements of this game and you think if this had gone the Warriors' way, they'd win. If that had gone the Warriors' way, they win. Bottom line, I think you do have to tip your caps to the Los Angeles Clippers, who are playing as well as any team in the NBA right now and got the most out of their veteran stars when they needed to. Look, it's not every day you were going to see Kawhi Leonard and James Harden and Zubats go over 40 minutes. In fact, you're probably going to get that once over the course of a season, and they were able to do so on Sunday afternoon at Chase Center, and it was really kind of a season-defining performance for Los Angeles. But for the Golden State Warriors, I think one of the biggest storylines of this game is the fact that before the game, Steve Kerr essentially said, we are not going to use Jonathan Kuminga. We're taking Kuminga out of our rotation. He doesn't necessarily fit next to Jimmy Butler. He previewed that earlier this week in a variety of settings with some media interviews, and the Warriors taking really one of their best athletes off of the floor against a Clippers team where ball movement has to beat them. Obviously, ball movement, not Kuminga's strength. He's a guy who can take it to the rack, who can score on his own, but it just felt like, you give Gary Payton II 25 minutes. You give Buddy Hield 16 minutes. Kevon Looney 16 minutes. Quentin Post 10 minutes. Maybe you create 10 to 15 minutes for Kuminga with those guys. I look at the way that the Warriors shared their minutes and dispersed those minutes over the course of the rotations throughout this game, and I couldn't help but wonder, was there not a path to 10 to 12 minutes of Kuminga helping you? And I know that he has been a work in progress for the last 4 years. And I know that not every Warriors fan believes in his potential. Believe me, there are many, many media analysts who look at Jonathan Kuminga and they say, this guy should be helping the Warriors. He's a top 3, top 4 player in their rotation. And that just hasn't been the case. And so there's a lot of believers out there in Kuminga. I'm not one of them. I'm not one of his biggest defenders, but I also think that with the season on the line, with the Warriors having the opportunity to get deep into the postseason, if they set themselves up with the big week of rest that they could have had, then I think you use Kuminga. I think you have to find a way to take advantage of his skill set and figure out how you can maximize Kuminga in a 10 to 12 to 14 to 15 minute stretch. And the Warriors just decided pregame that wasn't going to happen. He wasn't part of their game plan. And you know that come postseason, come playoff time, Steve Kerr tightens down his rotations. He tightens down the number of players who get minutes. But, Guy Santos also part of this. I'm fine with Guy Santos not seeing the court. But overall, I just think you are running a significant risk when you know that Kuminga is already someone who's been frustrated with his role, with his usage in Golden State, to where you get into Tuesday night's matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies, and if you want to use Kuminga, will he be focused? Will he be locked in? Will he be ready and all in and willing to put on a show for the Golden State Warriors when they need him most? Because he was just told he's not good enough to be in the starting 9 players in the rotation against the Los Angeles Clippers. So if he is purely a matchup player, I think this is the end of the road for Jonathan Kuminga in Golden State. I don't see any scenario where really he's back and contributing in a major way in the future. This to me felt like writing on the wall there for Kuminga. And now if the Warriors want to go on a run, I'm not sure how much they can count on him being fully bought in. I think that true team players, they can understand the purpose of, hey, you might not be the right fit for a particular matchup. You might not be the best asset against this particular defense. But I don't know that people would consider Jonathan Kuminga a true team player. I think they asked people up and down the Golden State Warriors locker room and their front office, and if they were to speak to you candidly and maybe off the record, I think that there'd be some concerns about Jonathan Kuminga and what he's bought into and ultimately what he wants for his Golden State Warriors career and what he wants for his NBA career. So he's out of the rotation, but it does mean that Gary Payton II plays 25 minutes, and it means that down the stretch, fourth quarter overtime, the Warriors were going with the lineup where it's Curry, Podziemski, Butler, and Green, and then Gary Payton II. You saw Moses Moody play 30 minutes, but he didn't get much burn in the fourth quarter and overtime, if at all, and so Gary Payton II becomes that player, and you've essentially got, when Curry's on the floor, Podziemski on the floor, those two guys are comfortable shooting, but when Curry's on the floor, Butler doesn't want to shoot. Draymond Green doesn't want to shoot, and Gary Payton II just flat out wouldn't shoot. There were opportunities for GP2 inside the free throw line, inside the three-point line, where he was essentially left unguarded by the Los Angeles Clippers, and Gary Payton II had no interest in going toward the basket, had no interest in heaving one up, and so it leaves the Warriors with a guy who played 25 minutes, finished with 2 points on 4 shots. It's almost inconceivable that that is the stat line for someone who was counted on to play such an important role, and at the same time, he's in there for defense. He's in there to help stop James Harden, and James Harden in the fourth quarter and overtime seemingly got whatever he wanted against the Golden State Warriors. And so I think that is going to be a huge, huge thing to watch on Tuesday night against the Memphis Grizzlies. Does Steve Kerr go back to Jonathan Kuminga? Are the Golden State Warriors willing to ride things out with Kuminga, or are they going to be stuck with this lineup where you're really lacking scorers? Because, the difference in Kuminga and Payton is Kuminga is willing to take the ball to the basket. Kuminga not shy about putting up shots, even though they're not necessarily the best shots. The Warriors wanted the more conservative approach, the guy who they trusted more on defense. And if that's the case, I think I would have rather seen Moses Moody out there. I think I would have rather seen, the particularly long and aggressive defender in Moody. And I know that, there were a few loose balls that he could have had early in that ball game against the Clippers that he didn't ultimately go for. And Steve Kerr was frustrated in those moments. But I think, the Warriors as a team right now have gotten down to the point where it's the play-in. It's must win on Tuesday night against Memphis. You have to trust that someone beyond Steph and Jimmy and Draymond is going to step up in clutch moments. And I think that they do trust that Podziemski will for this team. I think that Podziemski has shown a willingness over the last few weeks to step up when he's left open. He is not gun shy at all. He's willing to shoot in tough shots, tough situations for the Warriors. And he knocked down a big three-pointer late in the fourth quarter yesterday after the big tip out from the Warriors. I think it was actually GP2 with the tip out to Podziemski, and he stepped up and made that step up three-pointer. But nevertheless, I think that it puts this team in a really, really tricky scenario headed into Tuesday's matchup against Memphis, which has turned into must win. And I know that there's no Jalen Wells for Memphis, which should benefit the Golden State Warriors, but this is a team that is tired. It lost 3 of its last 5 games of the regular season. And if you win one of those games, and I think the San Antonio matchup is the most egregious example of a game that Golden State should have won, you don't sit here having to play a play-in game on Tuesday. I know that you're in control of your own destiny. You're the home team. Memphis is flying across the country after playing on Sunday. It's not an easy situation for them, particularly after losing Jalen Wells to the hand injury. But you're an old veteran team that's tired. And Draymond Green, told reporters on Sunday evening after that loss, look, we're not senior citizens. It's just a basketball game. We'll be fine on Tuesday. But you've also put yourself in a situation where Jimmy Butler had that thigh contusion late in that ball game when he went up for the brilliant block that he did. And so you've got one of your better players who could come out a little bit hobbled. Steph Curry was able to shoot in the fourth quarter with that thumb brace that he was wearing. But nevertheless, it wasn't a great start to the game for Curry. And you had to wonder if the thumb was impacting him. It's an old veteran team that's beat up, that's in a situation where it really needs a significant amount of rest, because if they win on Tuesday night, I have full confidence that they can go into Houston and do some damage. And I have full confidence that, Jonathan Kuminga could be back in part of this rotation, particularly because Houston was a good matchup for Kuminga earlier on this season, not the last time out when the Warriors lost to the Rockets, but he was a good matchup against the Rockets earlier this year. I think that his athleticism on the wing can help them against guys like Amon Thompson and some of their other outstanding defenders on the wing. But you're also in a situation where if you lose on Tuesday evening to Memphis, then you're hosting either Sacramento or Dallas on on Friday evening. If you win that game, it's off to OKC. And that just does not feel like a tenable situation for this Golden State team. So the season now comes down to Tuesday night. The Warriors had plenty of opportunities to secure their playoff fate, to secure a matchup with the Lakers, with the Nuggets, with the Wolves. They didn't do it. They passed up those opportunities, and what I think hurts them the most is they played pretty well on Sunday, all things considered. It was the type of game where, as I mentioned, you hang in there long enough, you let Steph Curry work his magic in the fourth quarter, and typically, traditionally, that has worked out for Golden State. Those have been the situations where, this team's been in the playoffs and they've ridden a Curry hot stretch for 3, 4, 5 minutes where he comes in with a flurry of 12 to 15 points. And all of a sudden, you're rolling. You've won that game. You no longer have to worry about that ball game. And the Warriors had to worry throughout Sunday's game because they could not get a stop against the veterans James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. Zubac was obviously a terrible matchup for them. Norman Powell, pretty good when he was on the floor. He was a plus 17 on Sunday for the Los Angeles Clippers in 44 minutes. You've also got Chris Dunn. The Clippers and Ty Lue tightened up their rotation. They only used 9 players. And, obviously with Kawhi and Harden playing 47 and 48 minutes respectively, defensively. The Warriors only using Draymond Green for 38 minutes, Steph Curry for 38 minutes. They could have pushed it a little bit harder, but they also knew that Tuesday was going to be at their disposal. They would be home on Tuesday against the Memphis Grizzlies, and they could take another shot at this. I think it puts them at a disadvantage heading into Sunday, having to play on Tuesday with the Rockets, the younger, more athletic team getting the full week of rest. But again, the Warriors showed that they could still give a good punch to the Clippers, because I think you put this in perspective, very few teams in the NBA playing as good of basketball right now as the Los Angeles Clippers have really over their last 20, 30 games. Warriors gave them a really tough punch on Sunday at Chase Center. Clippers survived it, and now it's up to Golden State to come out firing on all cylinders on Tuesday evening, leaving no doubt against this Memphis team and ensuring that you can go into Houston and pick up where you left off earlier before this stretch of 3 losses in 5 games that put you in this hole that you dug yourself out of to kind of, set yourself up as a playoff team. Now the Warriors a play-in team. They have to earn their way in through the bracket on Tuesday night, and it all starts against Memphis. So I am very curious to see how Steve Kerr handles this, what happens with Jonathan Kuminga, and if Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler look well rested and ready to go come the start of Tuesday evening's game out at Chase Center. We'll have full coverage. John Dickinson will have his typical post-game show as well with Dubs OT. Looking forward to that. Of course, big week here on KNBR as the Giants will continue their 4-game series in Philadelphia against the Phillies. Up next, we're going to speak with San Francisco Standard beat reporter Danny Emmerman. He's been covering the team all season, doing a great job for the Standard. We'll talk with Danny about a bunch of subjects that I just waxed poetic on, but I want to hear Danny, his expert perspective, his insight when we come back. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader. We are back here on Sports Phone KNBR. Kerry Crowley hanging out with you until 9 o'clock this evening, talking Golden State Warriors basketball ahead of a play-in matchup on Tuesday evening at Chase Center against the number 8 seed Memphis Grizzlies. And here to help us break down that matchup and what we saw at the end of the regular season, our friend from the San Francisco Standard, KNBR's former Giants beat reporter, Danny Emmerman. Danny, how's it going this evening?
I'm doing well. I wonder how long I'm the former KNBR Giants beat reporter. Is that something that stays with you forever, or I don't know how it works?
I think when you're a part of the KNBR family, whenever you come on The Sports Leader, it has to be mentioned. So love the Standard. Great outlet, by the way. Love what you're doing over there, and very much looking forward to reading you throughout what could be a long postseason or could be a very short and frustrating week of Warriors basketball. Before we get to that, what did you make of Sunday's performance? Because there's so many different storylines to get into, so many different angles you could take. Bottom line, I thought the Warriors actually played pretty well, and I think the Clippers are just playing great basketball right now and exhausted Kawhi Leonard and James Harden to get that W.
Yeah, I thought the Warriors played great. That was, I don't know if it was an A game for the Warriors, but it was pretty close, especially if you're talking about the way that they ramped up Jimmy Butler's minutes. They ramped up Draymond and Steph's minutes. They tightened their rotation, obviously, to get the players that Steve Kerr wants on the court out there for as long as possible. And they played well. Podziemski played well. They shot the ball well. They limited their turnovers. I think the Clippers are going to be a problem, though. They might be the second best team in the West. You know, if they have Kawhi healthy and playing like this, I think they can definitely win a few rounds. They're long, they're athletic. I don't love their bench. There was a lot of Bogdanovich and Simmons minutes that I think hurt them, but as far as a top three with Harden, Leonard, and Zubac, like that's about as tough as it can get.
What do you make of Harden playing 48 minutes, Leonard playing 47 minutes, Zubac over 40 minutes last night, and Steph Curry and Draymond and Jimmy Butler, while their minutes were all ramped up, it was only Jimmy who went over 40 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, both teams treated it like it was a playoff game. Both teams are, you know, they're 30-year-olds wanting an extra week off of work. I think that, you know, you can always quibble with how much Steph is out there in particular. Draymond was a little different. He got banged up a little bit in the beginning, and he's kind of matching Zubac's minutes for the most part. But Steph, you're always going to want Steve to play him more. But it's kind of up to both of them. They work together in terms of how are you feeling? Can you go? They work in concert with each other to decide how many minutes he can handle. So what did he finish with? 38?
Yeah, 38 minutes, 10 of 20 from the field, 7 made threes, and it was the flurry at the end. I mean, I've watched this scene unfold so many times over the last, 13, 14 years of the Warriors keep it close. Steph Curry comes in the fourth quarter, and he goes on a run where the other team just can't match it. And yesterday, the Clippers matched it. Like, the Warriors couldn't get a stop at the end, and they kept throwing double teams at Kawhi. And at a certain point, I didn't really understand the strategy in the fourth quarter and overtime because the Clippers just flat out beat it so many times.
I'm not sure. I think the strategy was sound. You know, you have to get the ball out of Kawhi's hands, but I didn't love trapping him so high on the court. I think they had trouble trapping him in inopportune places. They were trapping him near half court, in the middle of the court. I think that's a really hard place to trap a ball handler. And the Clippers have so many weapons. If you get the ball out of his hands, they have Harden and Powell on the second sides, and they have Zubac down low. So if they're playing 4-on-3, that's a tough team to really trap it. And that's a strategy that teams have a lot of success against the Warriors in terms of getting the ball out of Steph's hands and playing 4-on-3. You know, they're a little bit more comfortable when Gary Payton II is making those decisions at the free throw line compared to James Harden. You know, Harden played great last night. And he has a reputation for choking in big games, well-deserved in the course of his career. But I think he had 12 of their 13 points in overtime. Like, he was spectacular. He was hitting everything, and, you know, you got to tip your cap. And if the Warriors are lucky enough to see the Clippers in a series later this summer, you're probably going to have to bank on Harden having more of his, you know, playoff Harden games than he did last night.
Yeah, when I watched that Clippers team yesterday, they looked as dominant as any team that I've seen this season outside of Oklahoma City. Like, I know that Boston's been great. I know that the Cavs have been great in the Eastern Conference. I haven't watched them as closely because I've been watching the West a lot. But the Clippers for the last few weeks are a serious threat. And with all of the jumbled scenarios in the Western Conference, I think the Warriors are relatively fortunate that if they win on Tuesday night, the Houston Rockets actually present a relatively decent matchup as opposed to some of the other teams that they could be facing. Of course, you got to take care of business, but what do you think about the potential Warriors-Rockets series that could be looming here, Danny?
I know people within the team are thinking similarly to you. They are not super upset to have a chance to play the Rockets. I think they think that they match up pretty well with them. I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with them.
Okay.
The Rockets are tough. Like, they have a ton of athleticism. The Warriors are probably going to have to go back to Kuminga in that series just to match that athleticism, and he's played well against Houston this year. That is the next question. That's the next ball to drop for the Warriors is how does Kuminga respond to getting a DNP last night? Is he able to stay mentally sharp? Is he able to stay ready? Or is last night, the straw that broke the camel's back? Is last night something that you just can't come back from? I think if they get Houston in the first round, we'll find out some of those answers.
You know that Steve Kerr wanted to tighten the rotation, particularly if it was going to be treated as a playoff game, as the Warriors did on the final day of the regular season. But why a DNP for Kuminga, and why not 10 to 12 of the 25 minutes that Gary Payton II saw? Why do you have GP2 out there in lineups that are so small against a Clippers team with Zubats that they are grabbing offensive rebounds and making things really difficult? Why does Kuminga not fit?
He wasn't in the pregame plan. They made this decision as a coaching staff, ahead of time. They knew that Kuminga wasn't going to be a factor unless the game conditions, change their plans. I think the decision that they made was we don't love the look with Jimmy, Draymond, and Kuminga. And if Jimmy's going to play almost every minute, then it doesn't really make sense to have Kuminga play a minute here, a minute there when Jimmy rests. But the way that they did it didn't really solve the concerns from that trio. If you're just going to replace Gary Payton with Kuminga, then you're still playing three non-shooters at a time. And you saw how offensively that was kind of an issue with Gary Payton II, making decisions at the line in the short roll, having some issues finishing. Those are probably issues that might have been solved with Kuminga in some of those situations. They wanted Gary Payton's defense against James Harden. I thought he did an okay job. Harden's really hard to guard.
He is.
He had a pretty bad foul on a three-point shot of Harden, which I think hurt a lot. And he had a pretty long leash there in the fourth quarter and overtime. I probably would have liked to see Moody in there again. He was playing really well. But, he had a couple plays where he wasn't quick to the ball in loose ball situations. And I think that kind of rubbed Steve Kerr the wrong way. So those minutes kind of went to Gary Payton down the stretch. It's a hard juggling act that Steve Kerr is trying to pull off here. It's just, I'm not sure if he's managing the personalities as well as maybe he could, but I suppose we'll see. He knows much better of what goes on behind the scenes than anyone on the outside.
Yeah, we will find out on Tuesday night against the Memphis Grizzlies. If you were to take a crack at what the Warriors' rotation might look like on Tuesday against Memphis, do you think that we will see Jonathan Kuminga? Do you think that we will see more Moody than we saw in terms of his minutes stacked against Gary Payton, the second minutes against the Clippers? Like, how do you see this shaking out?
I imagine it'll be pretty similar to the Clippers game. I don't know for certain that Kuminga is once again penciled in for 0 minutes, but he has not, Memphis hasn't been a great matchup for him. They're going to want Gary Payton II to try to slow down Ja at the point of attack. That's something that, Gary Payton II is uniquely equipped to do. I think it'll be probably pretty similar. It's a game 7 situation. So it's possible the rotation gets even tighter. Maybe some of those Looney minutes aren't as necessary, or Quentin Post, or maybe maybe Peyton plays less than 25 minutes and you just roll with the starters for as long as you can until the wheels fall off. Because if you don't win tomorrow, then you're in then you play the 9-10 winner for the prize of playing the Thunder. Like, your season's essentially over then.
Yeah.
What are you playing for then? So they're going to treat tomorrow night just as they did last night. They're going to go all out, treat it like a game 7 and have your best 5 out there as much as you can.
Danny Emmerman of the San Francisco Standard, kind enough to join us here on Sports Phone KNBR. A couple more before we let him go. Danny, you mentioned they'll be going all out. The anticipation is the Warriors will treat this like a game 7, like you said. And I agree with you completely. If they lose, it's season over, because you can't go and play a game on Friday night and then show up in Oklahoma City on Sunday afternoon and expect things to go well for you against a team that had a historic season. If you're looking at the Western Conference right now, obviously OKC put up the incredible record during the regular season. Are you buying this team as the best team in the Western Conference, bar none, or do you think that there are legit threats to them?
There's certainly threats. I just think the West is so deep with really good to great teams. But the Thunder, there's a reason the Thunder have been head and shoulders above everyone all year. They have the number 1 defense, a pretty historically great defense. They're the number 1 defense against both 3-point shooting and in the paint, which is a combination that's not supposed to happen. But they've pulled it off. They come at you in waves with athletes, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has had one of the best guard seasons of all time. So I'm pretty confident in them as a title contender. I think the West is still theirs to lose, but they've never broken through yet. This is still early in their cycle as a core. So this is a huge year for them. I'd say they're on schedule, but this is a huge year in terms of, can you break through? Can you make it to the West Finals? Can you make it to the finals? And yeah, I mean, I think they probably will. If I had to choose, I would probably pick Oklahoma City.
If it's not Oklahoma City, who is the second biggest threat? Is it the Rockets by virtue of being the 2 seed? Or I was so taken with the Clippers' performance yesterday, and a healthy Kawhi is a difference maker. And that's not something that the Clippers had all season long. Like, which, in your opinion, is the second best team in the West?
Either LA team are probably going to be the biggest threats to the Thunder. Clippers, if Kawhi and Harden stay healthy, which, listen, they almost never do. They always break down in a playoff series, and it's a hard bet to make. And then on the other side with the Lakers, you're always going to want to have Luka Doncic and LeBron James on your side. They're going to have the best player in almost every series they have, and they can slow it down. They are challenged at the center position, but at every other position, they're kind of huge, which presents a lot of issues. And when you think about like LeBron's Lakers championship team, that was kind of a similar mold in terms of having a ton of size.
Yeah.
And being tough in the paint on both ends of the court. And I think if you can build a defense around LeBron and around Reeves, they're going to be able to outscore teams. So I wouldn't want to play the Lakers in a series. LeBron will win you a game. Luka might win you 2. And at that point, who knows?
Warriors, if they win on Tuesday evening against the Grizzlies, they could get the Rockets. And then if they advance, it could be the Lakers in that second round Western Conference semifinals. So could be fun. Last one for you, Danny, before we let you go. If there's one thing for the Warriors to fix from Sunday's performance against the Clippers that they have to get right against the Grizzlies, what is it?
Rebounding.
Yeah.
But, it's definitely a different look. I think the Grizzlies are a very good rebounding team. They like to play Edey and Jackson together. But yeah, if you're not going to win very many games getting out rebounded by 17. So if they can commit to the boards, commit to getting loose balls, limit Memphis to 1 possession every time down, I think they'd be in pretty good shape. And if they play like they did against the Clippers, they should have no problem with Memphis. But it's a 1-game situation, so you never know.
Anything can happen. We've seen crazy stuff in the play-in before. Warriors fans hoping that you don't see crazy stuff tomorrow night at Chase Center. Danny Emmerman will be out covering it all for the San Francisco Standard. Danny, thank you so much for joining us here on Sports Phone.
Thank you, Kerry. Always a pleasure.
All right, he is Danny Emmerman. Always appreciate Danny's thoughts on the Golden State Warriors. Started out the season writing for the San Jose Mercury News, but like Jimmy Butler, got the trade done and has transformed the San Francisco Standard. Been fun to read Danny at the new outlet. So good stuff from him. Looking forward to Tuesday evening's game against the Memphis Grizzlies at Chase Center. Like we said, the Warriors will treat this one like a Game 7. They will treat this as a season-defining game, in part because it is. You win on Tuesday night, all of a sudden you're against a Houston Rockets team on Sunday with 5 days of rest that you feel pretty confident going against. Otherwise, it's win on Friday night, win in that win-or-go-home situation against either the Kings or the Mavericks, and then you have the quick trip to Oklahoma City against a daunting Thunder squad that, look, the Warriors handled a few times this season, but if we're being completely honest with ourselves, if we're talking about this Warriors team in the context of a bunch of 30-plus-year-old veteran players against a young, up-and-coming, superstar-laden Thunder team, it's just a big ask, and I don't foresee any positive scenarios coming from that if the Warriors season does get pushed to Friday against the winner of the 9-10 game. So I am Kerry Crowley. When we come back, we'll wrap things up with some final thoughts on Giants baseball. Of course, we'll go back to the game at Citizens Bank Park, recap Landon Roop's start, and much more from everything that transpired this evening at Citizens Bank Park in Philly. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
Sports Phone KNBR keeps rolling live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
We are back here on Sports Phone KNBR. Kerry Crowley wrapping things up with you this evening. After a big Giants win over the Philadelphia Phillies, the Giants take game one of their series 10-4 over Philadelphia. I realize I haven't mentioned this Giants win in about 45 minutes because we talked Golden State Warriors. We had Danny Emmerman on talking Warriors-Grizzlies ahead of tomorrow night's matchup in the play-in game over at Chase Center. But it is worth circling back and wrapping up this evening's show with another commentary about another resilient win for this ball club. A 12-4 start to the season for Bob Melvin's team. Buster ball in full effect for the San Francisco Giants. They fall behind 3-0 in the first inning. Landon Roop in early trouble, but give Landon Roop credit. He regroups. He's able to grit through 5 innings, and he ultimately picks up his first win of the season. The Giants offense chased down Taijuan Walker in the second inning after Roop gave up 3 in the bottom half of the first. The Giants lineup came out and started doing damage in the second inning. A really impressive result for this ball club. And it all got started with the first RBI from Wilmer Flores, who now leads the San Francisco Giants. I say now leads. Wilmer Flores has led the Giants in RBI since day one of the regular season, but he picked up his 20th run batted in of the season in the Giants' 16th game. That cut it to 3-1. Then, of course, Taijuan Walker, the Phillies, helped out the Giants when he tossed that ball into center field. Patrick Bailey hit the high chopper over the left side of the rubber. A tough play for any pitcher, but Walker, who doesn't field his position particularly well, at least at the moment, he fires that ball into center field. The Giants catch a break. Lamont Wade Jr. scores there. And then the big swing of the bat from the guy who, if he gets it going, I think it could really transform this San Francisco offense. And that was Tyler Fitzgerald absolutely launching a pitch into the left field seats at Citizens Bank Park. The Giants took a 5-3 lead on Fitzgerald's 3-run home run. It just feels like for good teams, anytime you get in that situation where you need to add on, where you can kind of stick the knife in against a pitcher, Tyler Fitzgerald was able to do that, and it feels like the good teams do that in these situations. Early in the ball game, Giants needed to show some resilience, needed to show some heart early, and they did so with Fitzgerald hitting that 3-run home run. Willie Adames follows it up later in the inning with his first home run as a San Francisco Giant. Adames had gone something like 120-plus at-bats since his last home run. That was with the Milwaukee Brewers, of course. He launches a ball into the right center field seats, a towering fly ball where off the bat, I really thought it was kind of a routine ball, but it really shows the muscle in Adames' swing, and that put the Giants ahead 6-3 in the second inning. And from that point forward, the Giants were in complete command of the ball game. Give Landon Roop credit for the work that he did on the mound, settling down the Philadelphia Phillies. He ultimately gives up a solo shot to Nick Castellanos on a towering, impressive drive in the 5th inning, but the Giants bounced their way back. In the 7th inning, they got into the Phillies bullpen. It was Mike Yastrzemski hitting a big home run, and then in the 9th inning, Yaz strikes again, having a fantastic road trip, moved up to the leadoff spot. He doubles down to the right field line. Fitzgerald scores there, and then Matt Chapman snaps his 0-for-27 streak at the plate with the hit into the hole, the 5-6 hole on the left side of the infield to ultimately put the Giants ahead 10-4, and that's where things would finish for the San Francisco Giants. So a big, important RBI single for Matt Chapman there. That's exactly the way that they wanted to finish this ball game. And really, I think it's time to pick out our 3 stars of the game, kind of use the old hockey tradition, pick out your 3 stars. For me, biggest star of the night was Tyler Fitzgerald. He was a single shy of the cycle, 3 extra base hits for the San Francisco Giants. This is someone whose OPS was sitting down around 500 just last week, and it shows you how much of a good night can do for your final stat line. Fitzgerald, by going 3 for 4 tonight with 3 runs scored and 3 runs driven in, of course, all 3 coming courtesy of the home run. His average is now up to 286, and his OPS up to 809. If that's the case for the entire 162-game season, the Giants would be absolutely thrilled. This is someone who they penciled in at second base in the offseason. Of course, the Willie Adames signing, coming and forcing the Giants to move Fitzgerald over to second. They decided he's going to be the guy. They go into spring training thinking that they've got a ton of confidence in him. And what does he go in the Cactus League and do but strike out in about half of his plate appearances? And at the beginning of the season, those strikeout issues carried over for the Giants, and things were looking looking bleak. The Giants are going to need to give Christian Koss an opportunity at second base, Casey Schmidt an opportunity at second base. I take callers here on KNBR saying it's time to get Brett Wisely up to the big league level, but Fitzgerald, with a few strong performances of late, using his speed, of course, throughout this season, he's proven that he can be the everyday second baseman. Now he's got to be more consistent. He can't be as streaky, but tonight he showed the power, the pop, and why the Giants felt so confident in him being the second baseman going into this season. So doubles late, triples early, and also hits the big 3-run home run in the second inning to, kind of reset this game for the Giants. They went from trailing 3-2 to up 5-3, and they never looked back from that score. The Phillies only scored 4 runs, so Fitzgerald with the game-winning home run right there in the second inning. So he's really my first star of this ball game. The other guy who I just want to call out offensively, who's been doing such a sensational job on this road trip, is Mike Yastrzemski. And I give Bob Melvin a lot of credit here because the Giants wanted to come into this season with Lamont Wade Jr. at the top of the lineup. They were insistent that a good version of Wade could get the job done at the top of the order, even though he doesn't have great speed. They felt like his patience would really be important for this team. And so I think, looking at Yastrzemski and what he's done, the move to get him up to that leadoff spot has helped this Giants lineup kind of find its second gear here. I think you look at this road trip, they scored 9 against the Yankees, of course, on Friday night. They come out on Sunday, and Jung-Hoo Lee powers them to the win with 2 home runs, and then Yastrzemski tonight, a tone setter atop the order with the home run and the double, 2 extra base hits, 3 runs driven in. His average sitting at .311 and a 1.036 OPS right now, which, let's put that in perspective. After an 0-for-5 night with 3 strikeouts for Jung-Hoo Lee, an uncharacteristic off night after his incredible performance on Sunday, Lee's average down to .322, so just 11 points ahead of Yastrzemski, and the OPS sitting at 1.038, so just 2 points ahead of Yastrzemski. But if you ask the Giants coming into this season at any juncture, more than about a week in, if they could have 2 outfielders with an OPS above 1,000, they would have laughed at that notion. You probably would have predicted that Elliot Ramos would be that guy. It would be his breakout year. Instead, it's Jung-Hoo Lee enjoying the breakout. Tonight's performance, of course, not a part of that, but Yastrzemski, a 1.036 OPS, playing with newfound confidence as Bob Melvin has installed him as the leadoff hitter, a spot that he hit in regularly back during the prime of his career. Now a 34-year-old outfielder, final year of arbitration eligibility. He'll hit the free agent market this offseason after 7 seasons in San Francisco with the Giants. And after the home run last Wednesday at Oracle Park, he continues to add great moments to his legacy as he hits, what was tonight, his 3rd home run of the season? Yeah, he has 3 home runs now on the young year through 14 games. Giants will absolutely take that. So, offensive catalyst tonight, Tyler Fitzgerald, Mike Yastrzemski. I always say you really need 2 guys to get it going for you. Willy Adames, of course, deserves some credit. He did get picked off at the first inning. I hate that. Taijuan Walker has a very good pickoff move. Don't love to see that, particularly when you've been struggling to get on base. I think when you struggle, you need to stay on base. You need to prove that you can run around the diamond. Adames getting picked off, not great, but he did get the average up over 200 tonight. The OPS climbing slowly towards 600. Giants would love to see that get to 750 before the month of April is up. But the third star to me, and I think a lot of folks might disagree with this, but Landon Roop, he had the old dive then 5 start. Instead of 5 and dive, instead of 2 times through the order and then come out of the ball game when the 3rd time through the order they start to hit it around, Landon Roop, ugly in the first inning. He let the Phillies get to him, but he bounced back in a major way after giving up 3 runs in the first, scoreless second, scoreless third, scoreless fourth, and nearly got through that 5th inning before giving up the home run to Castellanos. But ultimately, he throws 5 innings, strikes out 8 Phillies hitters, and picks up his first win of the season. So here's the breakdown for Landon Roop this evening. A career high 101 pitches, and he threw well over 30 in the first inning. I thought that it was going to be a very short evening for Roop, but his ability to bounce back kept the Giants in the ball game. His ability to bounce back allowed the bullpen to set up well for the late innings. And of those 101 pitches that Landon Roop threw, 56 of those offerings were curveballs. He threw the curveball more than half the time tonight and was just incredible with that pitch. I think he got something like 13 swings and misses with the curveball. It was 15 swings and misses with the curveball, 9 called strikes with the curveball. So 43% of those curveballs that he threw, I know that we're getting deep into the numbers here, but 43% of the curveballs that he threw were either a called strike or a whiff. That is incredible. You add to that total 7 foul balls, 6 balls put in play against that pitch, but it was remarkably effective against the Philadelphia Phillies tonight. He throws the sinker 29 times. That was also an effective pitch for him. He got 2 whiffs with that. The cutter 8 times, the changeup 8 times, proves that he can have secondary offerings off of those 2 primary pitches that he used all of last season. And if this is the version that we get of Landon Roop throughout this season, I know that it was 5 innings, 4 runs, but I think that the Giants are going to be very happy at the end of their rotation, having a 5th guy in Landon Roop who can really help, just solidify things for this ball club. He threw 101 pitches tonight, looked good going through the 4th and the 5th innings, even with the home run to Castellanos. And I think the more that the Giants are able to get 5-inning starts out of the back end of their rotation with guys like Jordan Hicks and with Landon Roop, that's going to be critical. It forces them to keep Hayden Birdsong in the bullpen, but I've said this many times on Sports Phone, and I'll say it again as we wrap up this evening. Hayden Birdsong, by the end of this season, will be a part of this San Francisco Giants rotation. You don't have to worry about it. The Giants, Buster Posey, Zach Manassi, and Bob Melvin, all the important people, they see what you see. They know that Birdsong is special. They know that he's got premium stuff, and one day he will be in the rotation. I just think they want to preserve his arm and his pitch count now, his innings count in the month of April, because come September, come October, this Giants team could be playing important ball games, and when that comes around, you want your best pitchers available. You can't have Hayden Birdsong, who's never thrown more than about 120 innings in a season, burning out in the month of April. They're not going to let that happen, and I believe that come the second half of this year, Birdsong will be a key fixture in this rotation. But right now, I give credit to Landon Roop, who's done his job in the 3rd spot in the rotation for the San Francisco Giants. He's been impressive. He lost last week against the Cincinnati Reds, but it was 6 innings of 1-run ball. Tonight against a tough Phillies team, he kept the Giants in the game. Things could have unraveled for Roop early, and instead, the Giants pick up their 3rd win of the road trip. Giants have now won 4 of their last 5, and really, the important number to start the season, they've won 12 of 16 ball games, and this has not been an easy schedule that they've played. This has not been a bunch of cakewalks like the teams of the San Diego Padres are playing at home right now to start the season, as they just swept the Colorado Rockies at Petco Park without allowing a run during that series. The Giants opened this season in Cincinnati against the Reds, in Houston against the Mariners, the Reds back at home at Oracle Park, and then on the road against the Yankees to kick off 17 games in 17 days. And I've really said from the beginning of this weekend, if you were listening to Giants warm-up, they need their pitchers, their starting pitchers, covering 5 innings. They need solid performances even when guys don't have their best stuff. They got one out of Robbie Ray on Friday night when he was able to grit through 4 innings of a game where the Giants only needed to pitch 5. They got one out of Landon Roop tonight, and that was a big difference maker for this team. Credit, of course, the offense. When you score 10 runs, you're not going to lose, but I still think that Landon Roop set at the bullpen well, and then Bob Melvin turning things over to Randy Rodriguez, Eric Miller, who got the call of a lifetime from the home plate umpire, Tony Randazzo, Tyler Rogers, and then Camilo Doval to close it out. They didn't have to go to Ryan Walker to close up this evening's ball game. So the Giants win at 10-4, a big win in Philadelphia as the Phillies drop to 9-7 on the season. The Giants improved to 12-4. They will be back at it tomorrow night. Justin Verlander toes the rubber for San Francisco. And tomorrow evening, we'll have a special extended edition of Sports Cone KNBR as we carry things all the way through to Dubs OT coming your way after the Warriors and the Grizzlies over at Chase Center. Warriors fans hoping they'll be able to celebrate over at Harmonic with John Dickinson after what should be a game that clinches them a playoff berth, setting up a matchup against the Houston Rockets that, of course, we talked about so much during this 8 o'clock hour. I am Kerry Crowley signing off from Sports Phone KNBR. Really appreciate our producer this evening, Jacob Violante, for all of his work behind the scenes making this show possible. And of course, if you're out on the roads this evening, stay safe, get home safely. We appreciate you tuning in. You're the lifeblood of KNBR, the listeners. You make this all possible. Giants win at 10-4. I'm headed out for the evening. You're listening to KNBR, the sports leader.